I'm Reverend Chen. I'm here at Missions Fest Vancouver 2019, and we're at the Mission Central live broadcast booth. I'm here with Justin Kelsey from the Canadian Bible Society, right?
Yeah.
And you flew in all the way from Toronto.
I did, yeah.
For this great event.
This is awesome.
Beautiful weather here in Vancouver.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah.
Even though it's raining.
We're getting one of the biggest snowstorms of the season in Toronto right now, so this is good.
Good to be here. So I'm glad you're here. We don't have too many minutes, but let's just talk a little bit about, Canadian Bible Society.
Sure.
It's been around forever, right?
Yep.
So we're talking about discipling this weekend at the conference. People sort of have all their preconceived ideas about what Canadian Bible Society is, and they may not think discipling and Bibles.
Right.
How do those two things actually come together and work?
Yeah, so Canadian Bible Society, like you said, been around since early 1900s, but we try to be very intentional about, the relationships we make and how we're getting those resources literally globally, right? We're connected with Bible societies all around the world. But in Canada, for our Bibles here in Canada, 90% of the translation work we do is to benefit Indigenous, First Nations, and Inuit communities. So being able to reach them, not just with a message of salvation, but exactly in the theme you're talking about, in the form of discipleship and in their own language that they can understand. And I think that's just totally vital and biblical.
So what you're talking about really is you're making sure that the tools you create are usable in the discipleship context.
Absolutely.
The tools, primarily Bibles, but I'm looking here at this thing here, and we were wearing a T-shirt. What is this? Fear Not.
This is Fear Not.
Is this a Bible?
This is a brand new comic book.
Oh, it's
from Canadian Bible Society. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And it is
top
notch, almost like a
So what you're doing is you're trying to find a way to bring the Bible into a format that people can use while working with kids in our generation.
Yeah. I think it's
in our society.
You make it a tool.
Right.
You make it a tool because the words have to become action. You hear Christ talk about that, where follow me isn't, it's meant to be an action, a form of action, even a form of action daily, right? Pick up your cross, follow me daily. Yeah. So what does that mean for people, and how do they do that? How do they stay encouraged? And so for us, it's really a medium to be able to connect, especially like 8 to 12-year-olds, and you got a lot of youth pastors and so on reaching out to us. I just need something that I can connect with my kids with. This has been absolutely phenomenal. Wow. We got 6 different chapters, and each of them follow each other. It's like a boy of Samuel encounters Christ, and it's not about just that encounter. It's the journey of what happens after the encounter, and I think that's where the conversation goes right now, right?
Now we were talking off air before we got on here that you're actually also a pastor.
I am.
I'm a pastor myself, and using that as a pastor, like you're a youth pastor, though.
I'm a young adults pastor.
A young adults pastor. Yeah. So, tools that are used in that context.
Yeah.
How hard is it to get people to sort of engage with the Bible?
Yeah.
And use it as a discipling tool. We hear all of the stories about people not reading much anymore.
Right.
They're glued to their screen, and they do a lot of that reading. But actually reading is gone down. So what's been your experience in that?
Well, there's a couple different ways. I will say, before I say that, Canadian Bible Society, we're partnered with YouVersion, the app YouVersion, so they do carry some of our translations, which is pretty awesome. So if they are on their phone, then you know what? They're connected with us. Honestly, I'm a big believer, as far as from my experience and pastoring as a connections pastor and young adults pastor, I think it needs to come out of relationship. That it's not good enough just to hit someone over the head with the Bible.
It's not like I gave you a Bible, I'm going to trust that you're going to read it. It's more about I'm going to walk with you and hey, let's go read this thing together, or let's talk about something.
It's that conversation. It's that daily interaction, right? And for me, relationship doesn't even start unless you have trust, right? And so for me, trust is the absolute core of discipleship, because that's the foundation. Everything pours out of trust. And I just feel like God challenges us daily. Can I trust you with what I've given you, right? Can I trust you to not just use it for yourself, but can you use it to reach other people? Not just so they raise their hand and say, I want to accept Christ, because I don't think that's the end goal. I think the end goal is for people to express their gifts that God has given them, to the fullness. And so there's a lot of people that need to A, be reached, but B, be discipled.
And if we want to see people read the Bible, we should focus on having that conversation with them.
Absolutely.
And bring them into the Bible together.
Absolutely.
In that walk.
And make it relevant.
Yeah.
Make it relevant for them and what they're going through. So.
Encouraged to hear what you guys are, you know, the vision that you have for that with regard to the, I mean, as a pastor, I really value the Bible.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's important to see new ways of approaching how we get people to engage with that.
Amen.
So I'm really encouraged. You know, we've run out of time. You're here at the Missions Fest all weekend long. Where would people find you if they wanted to? And let's say that they missed you. You're online, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so we're at booth A1, the big one over in the corner.
Okay.
Come see us. You can't miss us. And you'll see the big Fear Not stand. And also, if you miss us here, check us out, BibleSociety.ca.
Cool.
And also fearnot.ca.
Oh, okay. That's a nice one.
Yeah.
So, you know, Justin, it's been great having you here.
It's been great to be here.
We're out of time, but, you know, glad to have you here this weekend.
Amen.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Okay. Hi, I'm Reverend Shannon Stengy. I'm here at Missions Fest Vancouver 2019. I'm here with Nick Short. Nick,
Hi.
Hi, yeah. You're with Reach Out for Africa.
Reach Out to Africa.
Reach Out to Africa.
Yes.
But you're actually right here in North Vancouver, aren't you?
We're located in North Vancouver. Originally, I'm from South Africa, but
I can tell by the accent there.
Yeah.
So, but your ministry, you do a lot of work in South Africa.
Yes, primarily in South Africa. We send
a little bit
both
in Zimbabwe, Swaziland, a little bit of that as well, but primarily
Zambia.
Yeah. Good. Now, what is it that you guys do when you are ministering down there?
Okay, so we provide resources, both financial and people, from North America to go and work in our programs in the school districts and in a camp program down in South Africa. So there are lots of opportunities for volunteers who would like to go there. We send 2 groups a year, and they go for about a month, short-term mission. We also provide some long-term mission opportunities as well. Primarily our role in terms of discipling is where we are identifying young people, local people, ethnic people in South Africa, and we're taking them through our program support system. We have a pastor who's on our staff who will mentor them in that regard and take them through the Bible, take them through being a servant to the community that they serve. So that's very important to us.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up discipling, because I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. We're obviously hitting that theme pretty hard, so you're right on the money there.
Yeah, we're
you know, discipling is, I think a lot of mission organizations have really started to focus in on that, because they realize that it's not just enough to get people to say yes. We need to actually see transformation in communities, in people's lives.
As a founder of the organization, that's been a principle, a guiding principle since we started. It's not about a handout, it's about a hand up. And our role is to do that in every aspect of a person's life, not just in financial or education or faith. It's a combination of all those things that make a person successful in life. And that's our goal.
Now, just shoot from the hip. Can you maybe tell me a story of somebody that has really been transformed, or maybe a church has been transformed, or like something that discipling actually made the difference?
Okay,
in the context of the ministry.
Certainly I can. I can give you an example. I won't use her name, but there's a young girl who came to us as a vulnerable young woman at high school in 2010. I remember it very clearly because it was the FIFA World Cup that year.
Okay. Yeah, I remember.
And we were running programs there and trying to keep the kids out of going into the city, but keep them in where they were working.
Why would you want to keep them out of the city?
There was too much abuse going on and advantage, and children being absconding with children and things like that. So there was a high-risk situation. But this particular young girl came to us, and we early on identified her as being a potential leader. And so we spent a lot of time working with her. She participated in our Bible groups and in our camp program to the point where as she graduated from high school. That was our first goal, was to keep her in high school. She graduated. She joined our youth leadership corps over there, and 4 years ago she decided that she wanted to go to university.
Okay.
So we've walked with her now since she was 15 or 14 or 15 years of age, and now in November this year, or December this year, she graduated as a lawyer.
And the time frame
Was from 2010 until 2019.
9 years.
Yes.
I mean, and that's, I really wanted to hit that, because discipling is not a short-term, 2 month,
No.
2
Not
week.
No, never,
Like,
ever.
you can't do discipleship
No, you
in 2 weeks or 2 months.
No.
It takes years. It takes a commitment for the long term.
As an organization, it does. Obviously, we get short-term volunteers.
Sure.
Their commitment is for that
But the
period.
vision has to be
Yeah.
long term, and wherever you see people who are committed to the long term involvement in other people's lives, discipleship, I think, naturally bubbles to the surface.
And she's just one example. We have many examples. I can briefly give you another one of a young guy, Enoch, who was a child head of household. He was a young guy, 12 years old. He had 3 younger siblings, and he was the only adult in the home. Both his parents died.
Wow.
And so we supported Enoch for many years, right through school. He's now gainfully employed in the industry, so not in industry, but in running a daycare for young kids.
Right. You know, Nick, we've run out of time, unfortunately, and that probably, you know, is indicative of the things that you have to talk about,
Yeah, absolutely.
and the stories that you have to share. Let's say that somebody here who's at Missions Fest wants to talk more about some of the things we started talking about. Where would they find you here? And let's say that they miss you. Are you online? They
Yeah,
can
we're
connect
at
with you
booth H05, and online we're at Reach Out to Africa, number 2 Africa.
Number 2, okay.
.org.
.org. Okay, great. Nick, really appreciate you taking the time. It's
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure. Too short of a time to really go much further, but you did well.
Yeah,
And
thank
you know,
you.
I'm intrigued by the things that you're doing there.
Yeah.
I think it's really encouraging, and I think
I'm
that people,
excited.
I think people would be really encouraged to find out more about what you're doing there.
Good.
God bless.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I'm Reverend Chen Stange. I'm here at Missions Fest Vancouver 2019. I'm here with Laura Barron from with Jews for Jesus, right?
Yes, shalom.
Shalom, and you're here from Toronto.
Yes.
Wonderful. Jews for Jesus, you know, we're talking about the theme of discipleship here at Missions Fest 2019. What does discipleship look like in the context of what you're doing in Toronto? And you know, I know Jews for Jesus does work all over the world, but you're in Toronto.
Yes.
What you're working on with Jews for Jesus, just maybe share with us a little bit about how discipleship has been used by you in ministry.
Right. First of all, for me, discipleship is such an integral part of being a follower of Jesus, because Jesus gathered his disciples, or Talmidim in Hebrew.
Yeah.
And to be a Talmid or a Talmidah, follower of Jesus, meant you followed him, you
were with
lived
him. You
life
walked
with
with
him.
him. Yeah.
You walked with him, you slept with him, you ate, you went where he went, and you sat at his feet. So for us, the responsibility of bringing someone to know the Lord initially is just the beginning of that discipleship journey. In my life, a lot of Jewish believers who have made a commitment to follow Jesus have been shunned in many ways by their families.
Yeah.
So life cycle events that they're very used to,
They
you know,
don't get
major
invited to the bar
Jewish
mitzvah,
holidays.
you know, it's like
Yeah, all of
missing person at the table,
calendar
right?
events, you know, just as Christmas is
Yeah.
huge for a lot of Christians with a lot of warm memories, maybe Passover to a Jewish person is a calendar event and they're not invited. So I open my home for Jewish believers for all of the Jewish holidays, with that emphasis on not only how they're celebrated, but how Jesus fulfilled them,
Right.
and invite them to do life with me. Shabbat is a very special family meal that for a lot of Jewish people they grow up with every Friday night. So we try to host Shabbat dinners in our home. A lot of discipleship that I do personally is one-on-one, walking with people. Very often, because of the world that we live in, it's via FaceTime or WhatsApp audio or video. So I meet with people all over the world. I had an interesting encounter with a young Jewish woman who was here in Vancouver while I was living in Toronto. And she was beginning to believe in Jesus,
Right.
an Israeli, but definitely hadn't committed her life to following him. We met on and off for 2 years,
Right.
communicated not just via email and text, but I would send her links,
Sure.
testimonies, and we would also FaceTime. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and her family was in Toronto, and she came to Toronto where I could actually meet her 3D
Wow.
for the first time after 2
Isn't
years.
that funny? Yeah, all this time,
Yes.
and then finally face to face.
Right, and then we actually met in person to read the scriptures together, but God was doing a huge work in her life, and as she was flat on her back, she finally submitted her life to Jesus. And we met for Bible study regularly. That's part of discipleship, teaching people who have given their lives to the Lord to really walk with Him and to learn about Him. So part of what we do, since we are not a congregation, we're an evangelistic ministry, is plant those believers in good local churches.
Right.
So planted her in a congregation in Toronto where she was baptized and is thriving and growing and serving in the congregation. And I can't picture anything better for discipleship, what that means, coming full circle and walking with her. And we still text back and forth, even though she's part of the congregation. And
I'm really encouraged by this. You know, like a lot of people, especially evangelistic organizations, have that evangelistic focus. A lot of people don't know that they also see the value of long-term discipleship and being able to walk. I mean, you walked with her over 2 years, right? And you created that sense of continuity, bringing her to faith, or walking with her until she came to faith.
Right.
And then, but because you had been with her and she had that sense of community, then when you needed to move on, or when she was moving back here to Vancouver, being able to plug her into a church, and she had that sense of, this is normal, this is natural. And I think that that's something that we're seeing more and more with organizations that focus on evangelism, that they get it.
Well, as missionaries, we're servants, and we're servants of the kingdom, and we have to be willing to open up our lives and invite people into our lives for whatever that means. And that can get very uncomfortable. It can say, hey, you need a place to stay, or you know, you're not doing so well right now, or it's an inconvenient hour for me to have you cry on my shoulder, or whatever, whoever it is. But I'm walking right now with a couple of people who are brand new believers that have come out of very observant backgrounds, Jewish backgrounds, and need support of other Jewish believers, someone who understands where they've come from and the issues that they struggle with. So in many ways, we are a parachurch ministry, so we help with things that pastors may not understand.
But you sort of also have the sense of community that would feel like a church.
Right.
And I think that's really what I'm hearing, is that you create church before they go to church.
Church is a building, in a sense.
Church is a people, you know? That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, you create a church community before you say, hand them off to a church.
And we're always a community. We're meant as believers to be there for one another and to walk with people and to support them. And those who are more mature in the faith, whether you're a professional minister or not, have the responsibility to bring others up in the Word of God and to let them know of opportunities that we take for granted.
We're out of time, Laura. It's been great having you here. You know, let's say that somebody wanted to connect with you and
Yeah.
just talk about the things
Yeah.
that we're just started talking about.
Beginning, yeah.
You guys are here somewhere as an exhibitor,
Yes.
and you're probably online. Where would people find you?
Okay, well here in Vancouver Missions Fest, we're booth R08.
Okay.
And online, like us on Facebook, Jews for Jesus Facebook, Jews for Jesus Canada on Instagram, jewsforjesus.ca online,
Wonderful.
or email me directly, laura.barrett@jewsforjesus.ca.
All the bases
Okay.
are covered.
Okay,
Laura,
thanks.
it's been a pleasure having you
You
here.
too. God
Thanks for
bless you.
coming out to Missions Fest Vancouver.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's over.
Nope.
No? Ah, thank you.
I'm Reverend Chen and Stenga here live on the Missions Fest Vancouver 2019 floor, and we're checking out people that are coming here and also some exhibitors. We got Christina, right?
Yes.
From Send International, and
Eric.
and he's brought his very tired daughter who just fell asleep. You know, Eric, parents like you who bring their kids to Missions Fest, I mean, this is an ordeal. Is it worth it though?
I would say yes. I don't know if she would say yes.
She's getting early exposure, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Definitely.
You've been talking with Christina here at Send International, and I just saw you guys talking, drop in on the conversation. What is it about this booth and Christina and the organization that you're sort of checking out?
Actually, Christina's with team, and we're actually appointed team missionaries.
Oh,
so
okay.
we're just kind of visiting.
Ah, good. You know, and this actually is a good point, is that, you know, quite often you find old friends bumping into each other, either it's people you minister with or people that you have traveled with.
Yeah.
And Missions Fest is quite often a place that you bump into. Would you find that you've actually make a lot of contacts with people that you've bumped into in the past here at Missions Fest each year?
Yeah, I've seen some people that I know here. My friends are boothing here also, and then networking is great. Here, Send International is here, and I'm from Team. It's a different mission agency, but we're collaborating, and that's really great to see because we're all into together.
That's good. Well, we're here live. If you are out there watching us and wondering about what's going on here at Missions Fest, this is it. Come on down. It's really exciting on the floor. Hope to see you soon.